Mr. President, the Senate will be voting soon on a bill to reauthorize the FISA Amendments Act. Now, most Americans likely do not recognize the name of the bill, but they probably know what this bill addresses: our government's surveillance of communications. As a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, I have learned a great deal about our post-9/11 surveillance laws and how they've been implemented. And I have determined that there are reforms that need to be made to the FISA Amendments Act, specifically Section 702, before we renew this law. The single biggest flaw in Section 702 is how it has been interpreted. The language of the law, the collection of foreign intelligence of U.S. persons reasonably believed to be located outside the United States, anticipates that incidental or accidental collection of Americans' emails or even phone calls could occur. But under the FISA Amendments Act as written, there is nothing to prohibit the intelligence community from searching through a pile of communications collected under this statute to deliberately search for the phone calls or the emails of specific Americans. This is not what Congress intended when the law was written. And now we're being asked to vote on this law at the last minute with not a single amendment allowed. Now, many of us have called this the backdoor search loophole, since it allows the government to search for Americans' communications without a warrant. Let me repeat that: without a warrant. The USA Rights Act, of which I am a co-sponsor, includes a fix to this loophole. It also includes other key reforms to the statute that I support. But that common sense bill is not the one on the floor today. The bill before us today would actually take us backward. It doesn't require a warrant to search for Americans' communications. It makes it quite easy to resume the about collections on Americans, a practice that the government has literally abandoned. It grants new authorities to allow Section 02 data to be used in domestic criminal prosecutions of American citizens. Now, I strongly believe that the federal government needs a way to monitor foreign communications to ensure that we remain a step ahead of the terrorists and those who would threaten our national security. The FISA Amendments Act has been beneficial to the protection of our national security. I don't question the value of the foreign intelligence that this law provides. I've seen it with my own eyes. But I also strongly believe that we need to balance the civil liberties embodied in our Constitution with our national security imperatives. That is the responsibility of Congress, to find that balance. And the bill that is before us today could come closer to that standard if we improve it through the adoption of amendments that I and my colleagues would offer if we had the opportunity. But this bill is being fast-tracked, and we are left with only the choice of an up or down vote. The American people deserve better than the legislation before us today. The American people deserve better than warrantless wiretapping. I urge my colleagues to consider the gravity of the issues at hand and to oppose reauthorization until we can have a real opportunity for debate and reform. Thank you, Mr. President, and I would note the absence of a quorum.